Lotus is synonymous with lightweight sports cars. But the problem with making sports cars is not everybody wants to buy one. The world is obsessed with crossovers. All roads, even the ones from Hethel, point to SUVs. I guess the old saying is true then. If you can't beat them, it's only a matter of time until you join them. This is the Lotus Eletre, the company's first ever SUV, its first ever car with 4 doors, and its first ever mass market electric car. It's also the first ever Lotus to be built not in the UK, but in China by its parent company Geely in a factory located in Wuhan. You might have heard of it. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's start with the name. Eletre is a word chosen by Lotus, presumably because Electra was already taken. It's a Hungarian word meaning coming to life, and it fits because they say it marks the start of a new chapter in the company's history. Maybe a slight understatement there, as some might ask how it can be a new chapter when it looks as if they've torn up the Lotus rulebook completely. Anyway, let's look at the design. When I first saw this car, the first thing I thought was that it looked like a slightly more aggressive Lamborghini Urus. But if you look closely, you can definitely see elements of Lotus design, particularly from the Evija and the Emira. The Eletre is an SUV, of course, and these things are inherently heavy, but Lotus has paid some lip service to its philosophy of weight saving. One of Colin Chapman's most famous sayings was, "There's nothing lighter than a hole," and that manifests itself in the Eletre through what Lotus calls a porous design. Effectively, that means the car is full of holes, in a good way. I'll show you what I mean. Air flows underneath this leading edge and up through the bodywork through these nostrils on the top of the bonnet. There's also what are effectively air curtains along the side that send air out through the wheel arch just there. And then at the bottom, you have this array of triangular petals that open and close depending on what the car needs at any given time. It can send air around the bodywork or through the body in order to cool the electrical components, specifically the battery and the motors. Gotta say a special mention to these lights as well, which look to me incredible. Very distinctive DRLs up here and semi-concealed dipped and main beams just below. If you see this in your rear view mirror, you're definitely not going to miss it. When you look at it in profile, you start to get a picture of just how big the Eletre is. It's what they call an E-segment SUV, which means in terms of its size, it's similar to a BMW X7, Mercedes GLS, or Tesla Model X. Let's talk about the wheels. Got to have big wheels on a big SUV. As standard, it comes with 21s, but you can upgrade to 22s, or, as is on this case, 23s with these very fancy carbon fiber inserts. But even these massive wheels look a little bit dwarfed by the sheer size of the Eletre. The air outlet behind the front wheels is another example of porosity. Air flows from the wheel arch along the side, and this informs the sculpted shape of the doors, which have flush pop-out door handles and no door mirrors. Instead, it has cameras and an internal screen. There's also an electrically operated cover for the charging port, and you might have noticed these flaps above the wheel arch. These hide the car's deployable LiDAR sensors, which allow it to see the world around it and help facilitate level 4 autonomous driving. Around the back, we have another deployable LiDAR scanner on the roof, although on the final production model, that will be in a fixed position. Just below that, we have a cantilevered carbon fiber split rear wing. There's a massive hole in the middle, and the reason for that is obviously it's part of Lotus's porous design strategy. Plus, it allows the LiDAR scanner to see what's going on behind it. These winglets effectively force air down the back of the screen and on top of this deployable rear spoiler, which changes angle depending on the speed you're doing and also what driving mode you happen to be in. Down here, even more porous design. These holes at the back were inspired by the Venturi tunnels in the Lotus Evija. These look amazing, although I can imagine that will be an absolute nightmare to keep clean. This huge light bar is another great touch. It stays red by default during normal driving, but these work as indicators which animate whenever you turn left and right, and they can actually change color to give you extra information. For example, the remaining battery level in the car. While we're here, let me show you the boot. 400 litres of space is available, which is pretty competitive. And there's a front trunk for yet more storage, although it's not visible to us on this prototype. As for the drivetrain, there will be 3 versions of the Eletre available. All use a bespoke electric premium architecture, EPA, with a low-to-the-ground skateboard design that can accept different battery sizes, motors, and component layouts. In the case of this car, there are 4 versions, all of which deliver 4-wheel drive courtesy of a motor on each axle. Lotus has a target specification of at least 600 horsepower, with the hope of achieving 0 to 62 in under 3 seconds and 161 miles an hour. The battery will be at least 100 kilowatt hours in size for a range of around 348 miles. For reference, that compares quite favorably with a Tesla Model X Plaid, which does 333 miles, although it's slightly down on the BMW iX50, which does 380 miles. We'll have to wait and see exactly how close this car can get to the Tesla Model X's 0 to 60 time of 2.5 seconds. So far, Lotus has only confirmed that this car will do it in under 3. For reference though, in order to get that time, the X Plaid needs over 1,000 horsepower, and so far, Lotus has only confirmed that the entry-level version of this will have 600 horsepower. Does that mean future models will have 4-figure power? We'll have to wait and see. The interior is loosely based on the interiors of the Emira and Evija, but it's been taken to a whole new level. I mean, look at it, it's gorgeous. Up top, you've got this split level dashboard, which mimics the design of that split spoiler at the rear. Less material means less weight. Just below that, you've got a blade of light that runs the full width of the dashboard, and that does multiple things. It informs the driver and the other occupants of this car what's going on. For example, if you get a phone call, that will flash to let you know that there's an incoming call. Below that is what they call the ribbon of technology, and that consists of 3 separate screens. On either side, you get a 30mm display, and that forms your driver instrument binnacle. It shows you things like your charge level, your range, your speed, and also some basic media information too. The passenger gets their own display as well. But in the middle, well, that's the star of the show. You have a 15.1-inch display, which looks amazing, but check out this party trick. It actually retracts for some strange reason. I mean, if that's not a flex, I really don't know what is. It looks really cool, and I think it's just a way of Lotus saying, hey, we're here, we're in business, and we're taking this seriously. Onto some more practical matters now. Down here below the screen, there's a gap for wirelessly charging your mobile phone. Cup holders that look amazing, they don't work on this pre-production model, but these actually push down when you apply your beverage to either one of these. Plus you've got physical buttons and switches on the center console, and also on this fabulous looking steering wheel. There's lots of storage in this car. Big door bins which are illuminated to help you find your loose bits and bobs, and also a decent amount of space by the looks of it. This doesn't actually open yet, for your center console. It's what you'd expect from an SUV. Very cool. In the rear, being an E-segment SUV, the Eletre has lots of room, and rear occupants will also be treated to luxury. There's plenty of leg and headroom, a totally flat floor, a clever center console with those fancy cup holders, again not operational as it's a prototype, and an integrated tablet that folds up towards the user. Lotus says this will enable entertainment and also control of cabin-specific elements like climate control. So there it is, the brand new Lotus Eletre, the company's first ever SUV, its first ever car with 4 doors, and its first ever mass market electric car. Is it even a proper Lotus? I kind of think it is. In fact, it might even be the most important Lotus in the company's history, because this thing might help them secure their future. How would Colin Chapman feel about it? I don't know, but you got to remember, that's the way of the world. Look at Porsche. They're not a sports car company. They're an SUV company with a side hustle in sports cars. And as for the electric thing, well, the Taycan outsold the 911 last year. This thing makes sense. And if it allows Lotus to continue selling their fancy track day stuff on the side, then this thing might end up being the second biggest thing to come out of Wuhan. Maybe. As always, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.